All right, let's dive into what is basically a modern-day treasure hunt. But forget gold or jewels. The prize here is something way more important for a whole country's future: energy. And our map, it's taking us straight to Pakistan. And that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. I mean, think about it. How can just one discovery, something buried deep, deep underground, completely change the economic game for a whole nation? We're about to find out. Okay, so why the big rush? Why this urgent hunt? Well, you have to understand the stakes here. This is so much more than just finding stuff in the ground. It's literally about securing the country's future. You see, for a long, long time, Pakistan has been dealing with a massive problem. A really severe energy crisis. And that's the key, right? That crisis is what's pushing this whole story forward. And when we say energy crisis, that's not just some abstract term you read in the news. It means real, everyday problems. We're talking about families dealing with constant power cuts, businesses that can't get enough gas to operate, and an entire economy being weighed down by having to buy expensive fuel from other countries. So, like any good treasure hunt, you need a map, right? Well, in this case, our map is drawn by geologists, and it points to one very specific and, as it turns out, very promising spot. And here it is, the Kohat Basin. For a while now, geologists have had their eyes on this area. They knew it was probably packed with deposits, which makes it X marks the spot on our treasure map. This is where the real scientific sleuthing gets going. So what are they actually looking for? What's the treasure? It's not what you might think, like a big underground lake of oil. Nope, it's a special kind of rock. It's called oil shale. So what's the big deal about this rock? Well, it's full of this organic stuff. And here's the cool part. When you heat it up, it actually produces oil and gas. You can almost think of it like a little energy factory, just locked up inside a rock, waiting for someone to figure out how to turn the key. And, you know, they didn't just stumble upon this. This wasn't a lucky guess. It was all about the science. I mean, teams of researchers were out there doing these massive surveys, analyzing rocks, mapping out everything that's going on deep underground, all to find the absolute best spots to drill. And all that work, all that mapping and science and analysis, it all leads right here to the big moment in our story, a single well that was about to shatter all the records. And then, bam, this headline hits and it changes everything. The state-owned company OGDCL basically hit the jackpot. They found it at a well they called Barakzai X01. And listen, this wasn't just another find. This was the biggest discovery from a single well in the entire history of Pakistan. Just massive. Okay, let's get into the numbers because honestly, they're pretty wild. This one, well, Barakzai X01 is pumping out 15,000 barrels of oil. Not a week, not a month, every single day. And that, of course, means big money. We're talking about a projected 57 billion rupees in revenue every year. That is a gigantic boost to the country's finances, all coming from just one spot. But this next number, this is the one that really brings us back to that energy crisis we talked about at the beginning. Because they can now produce this oil at home, Pakistan is set to save around $329 million a year. That's money they don't have to spend buying fuel from other countries. I mean, if you really want to wrap your head around how huge this is, get this. That one well, Barakzai X01, is now responsible for 10% of all the crude oil produced inside Pakistan. 10%, a full tenth of the country's entire production from one single hole in the ground. That's just wow. But here's the thing. This incredible well isn't just some random stroke of luck. It's actually a really important piece of a much, much bigger national plan. It's one piece of a giant puzzle they're putting together. And this really shows you what I mean. It's not just about this one well. Look at this. There have been 40 other new discoveries recently. That's adding a ton of new gas and oil to the system every day. And at the same time, the government is really pushing ahead, opening up new areas for exploration and bringing in over $31 million in new investment. So you can see the treasure hunt is getting bigger and bigger. Okay, so we've seen the big discovery, we've seen the bigger strategy, but what does it all actually mean for Pakistan? Let's talk about the real-world impact here. All right, here's the bottom line, the payoff. Every time they find more oil and gas, it means they're less dependent on buying expensive energy from other countries. That saves a ton of money on the national credit card, it brings in billions for the government, and it creates jobs and boosts the economy in those regions. And all of that points to the main goal, making Pakistan's energy supply much more secure. So you go from a single type of rock to a well that breaks all the records to a full-blown national strategy. It's really an amazing story about how science and just plain determination can unlock a country's potential. Which leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. Could this be the very start of a whole new energy era for Pakistan?